بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. نريد الشريف هذا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has once again enabled us to come to the masjid, and coming to the masjid is such a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have given this example many times before about how we do not choose to come to the masjid, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls us and invites us to the masjid. And the reason being is very simple. When a person has their own house, no random person just walks through the door whenever they feel like, but instead only those who are specific and those who are special, they come again and again into a person's house. So in the same way, coming into the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a blessing, and it is something for us to be very grateful about. The more we look at things in a positive way, the more benefit it will be for us. Last night, there was a youngster who came to the masjid. He was here for Fajr Salah, and it was the first time I'd seen him before, so I was having a chat with him. There's 3 of them that came, and there's one new face I didn't recognize. So then one of them points to the other, just making sure they're not hearing. don't want to speak about him while he's here. He's not here. So one of them, he pointed to the other one, he goes, he's got something to say. Okay, let's listen to what he has to say. He goes that everybody is just, there's only, he said, there's a very small percentage of people. He even gave a number, he said about 100,000 or something among the thousands. It was only this many people are actually going to go into Jannah without being questioned. And the rest of us and the rest of everybody is going to have to go to Jahannam, and they have to atone for their sins, and then after that they will go into Jannah. So bear in mind, this is a youngster, maybe 18, 19. So this is the mindset. So I said to him that there is no specifics on what means a person can be forgiven or cannot be forgiven, but instead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in complete control of who He wants to forgive and who He wants to show His mercy upon. I also said to him that a man, it was a very famous hadith which has been mentioned, that a person who will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, and it would have been such a person who is a complete abid, his whole life he spent in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he will say to Allah that I want to be entered into Jannah through my actions, through my ibadah. So all of his ibadah will be brought. Remember, this is a person who's done worship his whole life. His all the ibadah that he ever done in his life, it will be brought forward and it will be put onto the scale. And this one help, this one small thing, this one help that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have given him in his life, that will be put on the other side of the scale. And everything that is on this side of the scale will be completely outweighed by all of the ibadah that he had done. And the story behind it is that only through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can a person enter into Jannah. There's nothing else which, doesn't matter how much we do, at the end of it, it is always going to be the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which makes a person successful. And this is where to always have a good thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ask everybody just move forward and sit nice and tight, please, because we're already running out of space. So just sit nicely and close together to each other. There's plenty of space everywhere. So always from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what is going to get a person entered into Jannah. So to look at, there's a saying that goes about looking at things from a certain perspective, whether you look at it through a glass half full or a glass half empty. So we should always, as Muslims, have a good thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving, and I am going to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Him for His forgiveness, instead of being negative and thinking that I'm not going to be from amongst the certain thousand who are going to go into Jannah. I'm going to be one of those who has to go into Jahannam first, and then after that, think of how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is. The narration is mentioned that on the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is mentioned that Allah's mercy and His rahmah is greater than His punishment. Just the other day, we were reading Surah Mu'min, and it came غافر الذنب وقابل التوب شديد العقاب ذي الطول. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is غافر الذنب. Allah is the most forgiving, and Allah is the acceptor of repentance. And these are the qualities which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. That when a person continually, again and again, turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and asks for His forgiveness. So this is the most important thing. And this is where, if we look at and we understand the beauty of our deen. Our deen is such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout the year, we have our ups and we have our downs, and we have our difficulties and we have our problems, and then we are blessed with the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan, it comes and it is an opportunity for us to do good deeds and good a'mal. And around more than 20 days have now passed, and we are now into the final 10 days of the month of Ramadan, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that a person should seek help, and a person should seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask to be saved from the fire of hell. And to continuously read the dua, Allahumma ajirna minan nar, Allahumma ajirna minan nar ya mujir, Allahumma ajirna minan nar ya mujir. So while we are sitting, you quietly even read the dua to yourself. It is a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help to forgive us and to save us from the fire of hell. So we are in these last 10 days, and within these last 10 days, in Surah Al-Qadr is mentioned, Laylatul Qadri khayrum min alfi shahr. Laylatul Qadri khayrum min alfi shahr. Which in it is one night. In this one night, it is greater than 1,000 months. And all of the calculations have been done for so many years, that is over 73 years that a person can get for that whole night. But it doesn't just say 1,000 months, it says khayrum min alfi shahr. So we don't even know exactly how much it is. And the story behind it is that when the Sahaba heard about the length of the lives that the people lived in the qawms before, so they said, Ya Rasulullah, how can we compete with those nations that had 1,000 years to live? Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam was calling his people for 950 years. So we don't know how much longer he was actually living. So that how are we supposed to compete with these kind of people? These kind of nations, they had so many years to do all of the deeds and a'mal that they wanted. How are we supposed to compete with that? To which the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with this month. This month in which there is that one night, where for that one night, if you catch that night, you get the reward of doing whatever you were doing for over 73 years. And this is the mercy and the blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to give us these opportunities, but we need to take that opportunity. And this is what we have to do from right now, is make that intention. That there might be some among us who might have not made the best of the time that we have had so far in the month of Ramadan. Because again, insan, we are weak, we can make mistakes, and we can get a bit lazy. But the thing that we need to look towards is that the month of Ramadan is still continuing. It is still going on. And we still have that opportunity to do something. And that something is to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do those deeds which are going to bring the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those deeds, and every single one of you right now, majority I'm sure, are doing a deed right now which is fasting, which we are staying away from food and drink to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No other reason. And sometimes we can forget that every second of the day that you are fasting, you are being rewarded. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rewarding you. And He's rewarding you because you are doing this one thing just for His pleasure. So this is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do more and more and more. And Allah doesn't want us to do it so that it can bring any benefit to Allah. But it is only for one reason, in which is that it brings benefit to ourselves. So the more that we do, it is only going to bring goodness for us. And this is where we have to make sure that we are always understanding and asking ourselves the right questions. What am I doing and why am I doing it? Sincerity and ikhlas. That everything should only be done for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That every action, every good deed that we do during this month, to remember, I am only doing this for Allah. This fasting that I am doing, it is not to show people, look how long I can fast for. Look how much weight I can lose. These are none of the things that we should be doing. It is only for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something else which we all do and which we have been doing during this month is the recitation of the Quran. And the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is there for guidance, it is there for hidayah, and it is there for us to learn from. Any answer that we ever need, it is there in the Quran. It is there, and we use it as a book which helps us. Many people who read the Quran, those that have something against Islam, They look at and they read the Quran looking for things which are going to cause controversy and cause difficulties and trying to spark a debate. But a person who looks at the Quran and he opens it with the intention of wanting hidayah and wanting to be shown the straight path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open that path for him. Allah will make it easy for him. And this is, whenever we do open up the Quran, we should sit with that intention. That whatever I am going to read now, we make that dua, Ya Allah, whatever I am going to read, Ya Allah, let me bring it into my life. Let me act upon the thing which I am going to read. Let me do everything that I can to bring these words into my life. And the only way that can be done is if we sit and we read the translation as well. And we see what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying. Very simple, each and every single one of us, we all recite Surah Fatiha. Every single day, we recite Surah Fatiha so many times a day. But when have we ever sat down and pondered about exactly what we are reading? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That all praise is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of the universe. That all praise is from Allah, the Lord of the universe. Everything which is in the world, in the creation, in the universe which is there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created it all. And all praise is only for Allah. Only for Allah. Nothing else deserves any kind of a praise. Everything is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman, Allah is the most kind. And Ar-Rahim, the most merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows so much mercy upon us that every single day we have so much. That we have clothes on our back. We have food in front of us in our plate. We have a roof over our head. This is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has given us so much that, so these are the kind of thoughts that need to be in our mind when we are reciting the Quran, when we are reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Maliki Yawmiddin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the King of all the worlds. Everything. The King of the day of judgment. The King of the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On that day, when every single person will be scared and worried out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will show His power on that day. That Allah is that king. If you think of the kings of today and the kings of the past, people like Fir'aun and Haman and Qarun, the people that they came and they thought they had something. They had a bit of pride. These people have nothing compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will show His power on that day. So this is, while we are reciting Surah Fatiha every single time, these are the kind of thoughts that we need to have in our mind. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. That only do we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That nothing else is important to us. The only thing is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Box is going around for the collection for the masjid. As I've been saying the last couple of weeks, everything that happens in the masjid is run by yourselves. We ask that you give generously. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in every single person's wealth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for everyone. Also, there's a short announcement about there's some people who made a pledge last year that they would help and they would donate to the masjid. Those people, they know who they are. If they can just get in contact with Haji Sahib and make sure that to make the payment. Those that want to make payment as well, you can. As you know, whatever is given in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies it by so much. We try our best during these months to give as much as we can, even if it is £1, even if it is 1 pence. We get into the habit of our youngsters, the kids that we have, you tell them, bring whatever you have in your money box, Ahmed, and put it in. Right? Next week you have to bring everything that you have. Yes? Okay, bring some of it. Your dad will replace it, don't worry. So, whatever you can, if we get into the habit from a young age of teaching our children to give sadaqah and charity, then it will continue for the rest of their life, and then it becomes a means of sadaqah jariyah for us as well. So we try and get into these habits. And remember, wealth which is given in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never decrease. It will never decrease. Only Allah will put more barakah in it again and again and again. So we try our best to be as generous as possible. May Allah make it easy for us. Ameen. If one of the ladies can go around and just make a collection for the ladies as well, and somebody go upstairs for the men, and someone in the cabin, and someone wherever everybody else is. So, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. We only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is very, very important. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. That we worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As in, nothing is more important than Allah. That when the time for a fard act comes, Allah is my number one priority. Pleasing Allah is the number one thing. So when the time for any salah comes, everything else gets pushed to the side. This is my time with my Allah. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. This is what that means. That nothing else is going to come in my way between me and my Allah. I'm going to do everything that I need to during this time. That even whatever it is, and if it is not, there's nothing which can be more important than making sure that we fulfill our farz. So when the time for salah comes, we make sure that we find that moment, even if it is just to pray our farz. Your sunnahs and everything else, that can be left. As long as you are praying your farz, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question us about. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. And we have complete and full understanding that this is my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my bond that I have with Allah. وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ. And we ask nobody else for help. We only ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. That when a person is in some kind of a difficulty, when a person is in some kind of a trouble, they'll go to their friends and they'll go to their family. But we need to get into the habit of asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. We have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. And the way of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a very famous narration which has been mentioned. The sahabi who came into the masjid and he came in, he prayed 2 rakats of salah, he made dua, and he walked out and he left. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, of course, he would know everything which was going on, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would inform him about certain things. So he asked the Sahaba there, do you know why this Sahabi just came into the masjid? Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Rasul know best. Sallallahu said that in his house, salt had finished. The salt had finished, so he came into the masjid, he prayed salah, and he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, I need this, and then he went away. Very easily, what you can do, he could have went to the market, could have got the salt, and came back. But instead, what is better is that we always get into the habit, even though we are able to. Allah has given us the ability to. Allah has given us the wealth to. We can just go to the shop and get whatever we need. But instead we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask from Allah first. Have conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something which is very important. Speak to Allah. Allah is our friend. Allah wants to have, a friend is such that, when you are in times of need and when you are in times of difficulty, you can go to that person whenever you need to, and they'll be there for you. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has given you everything that you have today. So, do you think Allah is going to turn us away whenever we ask from Him? Definitely not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not turn you away. These are the things I want you to think about when you are reciting these ayat. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ. That the priority has come. My salah is first, I am going to pray my salah. The time for my zakat has come, I am going to give my zakat. Being good with others, respecting people, talking in a good manner. These are all things which are very important for us and which we should be doing. وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ. And we only worship and we only seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. That we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the straight path. The straight path. That straight path that everyone is looking for. That where is that peace that we are looking for in our life? Where can I find that peace? It is in this. In following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where the peace will come. In following the commands which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent for us to do. When a person veers away from the straight path, when a person stops following the sat-nav, trying to go somewhere, and you're not going where the sat-nav is telling you, it's going to keep saying, turn around, turn around, turn around. So this is what this turnaround is, the ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. That when, in the same way that our body is in need of food to keep going, our soul is in need of nourishment as well. And the nourishment that we need is to have the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala flowing around us. And to always be constantly thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the thing which is missing. And when we bring these things into our life, when we bring these qualities into our life, it is only going to benefit us. And that peace that we were looking for, we will find it. We will find it. No matter how much a person has, no matter how many toys Rubil and Muiz and Ahmed and Abdul Shakur, all of you have, you'll always want more.
I don't like.
You don't like toys? What do you like? Devices. So there's always going to be another new iPhone that's going to come out, and another iPad, and another tablet. There's always going to be something new. So you'll never get full. This is the way Allah has created the dunya. The dunya is there for you to just keep on saying more, more, more. But you can never get everything. But in Jannah, in the Akhirah, you can have as much as you want. Whenever you want, you can make your own tablet and your iPad. Ahmed, you have whatever you want. You can be in the tablet if you want. So you can have whatever you want. But it's about making that effort. The effort has to be here in the dunya. To make those things, in order to gain something, some kind of a sacrifice has to be done. And that sacrifice which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking from us is very, very little. That when the time comes for ibadah, that we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we put the dunya to the side and say, Ya Allah, you are the most important thing to me and I'm going to worship you right now. And this is why we are so blessed to have this month of Ramadan. That if a person is able to be in ibadah during Laylatul Qadr, it is an opportunity for him. It's like I shouldn't be saying it, but it's like winning the lottery, right? Don't do it, but it's like that. That this is how you get everything. One go is a one in a chance that a person, he gets it and he takes everything for himself. And this is the way to get Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's reward from him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He blesses us. Think of how many Ramadans have passed. Those who are a bit older. Think of me myself, I've had 30 of them. Alhamdulillah. And so all of these Ramadans come and these Ramadans go. But where is the change in our life? That is the next thing. That something has to change in our life as well. Something needs to be different. And when we seek that help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we understand exactly what our duty is and what our responsibilities are, that is how it helps. And then the next ayah, صِرَاطَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks about the اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, the path of those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He favored. So the people who listened to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who went on the straight path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them goodness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made things easy for them. And not the path of those who went against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who thought, everything I want to do, I'm going to do. I'm not going to follow the commands of Allah. I will do whatever I feel. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. When the tafsir, it mentions those who were the mushrikeen, the Christians and the Jews. So what happened with the Christians is that they started to believe about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, that he is na'udhu billah, the son of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from there, this is where they went from. And then from the Jews who were very stubborn as well, that they didn't want to change anything. So this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us. That we might think something is the right way to do, but our Islam and our deen teaches us that it is something different. This is where we have that opportunity, and this is where we need to make that choice, that doing what our deen says is the most important thing. So this is just one surah that we read every single day. Imagine what the rest of the Quran is saying to us. So the next day when we are, when we read our salah right there, when we are reading your sunnahs, when we are listening in the salah, think of these things which have been spoken about. That this is what the Surah Al-Fatiha is. That when we are in that situation, when we are praying our salah, I'm having that chat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my one-to-one connection with Allah. And the more I put, the more sincerity and devotion I have within my salah, the better it is going to be, and it's better it's going to help my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq and understanding to act upon these things. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.